Join us now here on Public for a one-on-one interview is Rajeev Goel, the CEO of PubMatic. I appreciate your time and perspective here, Rajeev. We're going to dig into the quarterly numbers here in just a minute, but first explain to our viewers and listeners who might be otherwise a bit unfamiliar exactly what PubMatic does. I know you describe yourself as the supply chain for the future of advertising on the open internet, but what does that actually mean?
Yeah. Hey, JD, great to be with you. So PubMatic is a software company that delivers real-time advertising on behalf of publishers. So what we do is we help companies, all sorts of content creators, News Corp, which you know as news and journalism on the web, Paramount, a streamer, Roblox, immersive platform for gaming, Electronic Arts, another gaming company. We help them sell ad space in a fraction of a second through automated auctions. And the purpose for that is to deliver a relevant ad to the consumer that can yield the highest possible revenue for the publisher. So anytime a consumer reads or sees some content for free, it could be news, it could be sports highlights and scores, it could be movie online. It is not free. In fact, it takes a lot of money to produce content and to distribute content. And the way that that business works is through advertising. And so we process over 600 billion, that's billion with the B as in boy, ads on a daily basis on behalf of our content creator companies, partners.
So let's dig into some of these Q1 numbers. Revenue up 20% year over year. Talk to me about your key growth drivers for the quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. So not only was revenue up, really nicely, 20%. That's the third quarter in a row of accelerating revenue growth. We also delivered significant profitability, so 23% adjusted EBITDA margin, free cash flow of 16 million, which tripled on a year-over-year basis. And so really what we've been working towards is investing in innovation. So over the last couple of years, maybe 2 years coming out of the COVID, internet boom, the ad spend environment has been fairly muted. Now, as a management team, we've worked through a number of cycles in the past. And so we know that ad spend always comes back bigger and better when the economy returns. And I think we're at the early stages of that right now. So we've been investing in connected TV, so streaming. We've been investing in retail media. That's ads that you might see when you're shopping online. We've been investing in solutions that move us past the cookie. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that later. But cookies are going away on the open internet. So we've been investing in a lot of growth opportunities. We've also been very focused on making sure we're covering our large customers. So these are large advertisers and agencies, large content creators, building relationships with them even through the soft period. And now you're seeing, I think, the results of that come through, which is significant revenue acceleration and market share gains.
So Rajeev, as we talk about the potential recession that we've been talking about now for what seems like 2 years, and the potential for an economic contraction to some degree, which economists still say is quite possible, if not likely at some point in this high interest rate environment. One thing I've noticed from my years working in news is that advertisers tend to be among the very first to tighten their belts. And then there are residual impacts on content creators, on newsrooms, on sports broadcast, whatever that is. How would a potential economic contraction, which could very well go hand in hand with the tightening of the belt from the ad space, impact PubMatic?
Yeah, so JD, I think you're exactly right in terms of, what happens, right, when the economy starts to contract. Advertisers say, okay, I need to save money. Consumers, don't have as much budget to purchase products. And so they tend to cut back on spending. And that's marketing spend. And that's exactly what we saw in the middle of 2022, where I think the entire industry, talked itself into this, slowdown or recession coming, which, as you pointed out, hasn't come. And so we saw across the ecosystem, across the industry, ad spend rates of growth go from, 15 to 20% down to low single digits. And that was a lot of the environment in 2023. And I think now where we are is that the economy is on much more stable footing. We seem to be near the end, if not at the end of the interest rate, cycle, although nobody knows for sure. But, we keep hearing that interest rates are, have plateaued or will be cut. So we feel really good about what we're seeing in terms of our clients and the ad spend environment. But you're right that, obviously you never know. Certainly we don't have a crystal ball about what the economy will bring. And so that's why we've been very focused on profitability. So this past quarter was our 32nd consecutive quarter of positive EBITDA. We've had positive cash from operations every year for 9 straight years. So we're generating cash. Last year, we announced a $75 million share repurchase. At the beginning of this year, we added another $100 million to it. So we are not only investing in innovation, but we are also purchasing, significant volumes of our stock back. So we think whether we're in a great economic environment or a more muted environment, there's a lot of value that we can create for our shareholders.
The media space is changing by the day. By the end of this interview, it will already have changed that quickly, seemingly. In a world of connected TVs, online media, mobile media dominating, the rise of commerce media, how is PubMatic situated to handle the changes that are happening in the industry so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. One constant in our industry is change, and it sounds cliche, but digital advertising, I've worked in a variety of different industries. It is the fastest pace of change industry that I've ever been in. And so we really focus on the things that we can control. And that is, what does our innovation roadmap look like? It's what does our customer relationships and health look like? And then third is, what is the business model and the cost profile of the company? So to your point, JD, because of the pace of change, it's really important that any company that's going to be growing and taking market share has to be constantly investing in innovation. And we think the best way to do that is through organic innovation as opposed to, M&A acquisition-led innovation. So we shared in our earnings call yesterday that we're now crossing the mark of 500 employees at PubMatic that are focused on product management and engineering. My background's in computer science. My two other co-founders, they have backgrounds in computer science. So I personally spend a significant amount of time on a weekly basis thinking about product strategy, product capabilities. What are the things that we're delivering in the market to help keep our company, on the leading edge of innovation?
And what does oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what does your company's relationship look like with a few other household names that our viewers and listeners might be familiar with? Let's talk about like a company like Klarna, a Roblox, since you mentioned gaming earlier, maybe Instacart, to kind of connect the dots between where PubMatic is and some of those brands that our viewers may know.
Yeah, these are all great, customer partners of ours. So for instance, Klarna and Instacart, they're squarely in the retail media or commerce media space. This is where, consumers may have noticed, your viewers, that as you're, shopping on the internet, it could be on Instacart, could be on Walmart, could be on Home Depot. You're seeing ads show up, in those search results or in those products that you might be looking at, right? And the reason is that a great ad is like a great piece of content, right? It's very relevant, it's very timely, and it's something that you may very well be interested in consuming. And so that's a huge opportunity for us. It's about a $10 billion TAM expansion. Roblox is, I think, another great example. So it's an immersive environment, and they are going to be adding ads later this year, and they've chosen us to be their initial launch partner to bring video ads into the Roblox environment. So we're really honored and excited to work with them. So these are just a couple of examples in the CTV arena. Virgin Media UK, Vivo, they host a lot of the music videos that people like to watch. Dish, Sling is another customer that we announced in the last quarter. So we're really growing the customer base in the areas that are growing, 20% plus on a year-over-year basis in terms of market opportunity. And that in turn is leading us to gain market share and grow our business at a rapid rate.
You're right. People are watching a lot of music videos, though I will not ask you your take on the ongoing Drake-Kendrick Lamar beef. We'll save that for a different day. Election spending, I'd imagine, is ramping up. On the one hand, you got a lot of advertisers. They say, we don't want to touch politics for obvious reasons. And you got other advertisers who want to capitalize on the increased eyeballs on political content. What does the expectation for increased election spending look like between now and the end of the year for PubMatic?
Yeah, there's two big events that we're looking forward to. You've got the Olympics in Paris this summer, and then you've got the election, as you mentioned, right? And I think, every year, every 4 years, certainly, the amount of ad spend behind elections is growing at an astronomical rate. And more of that spend is moving into digital channels, right? Away from, traditional, let's say, door knocking or mailers, and of course into, delivering issue, candidate, whether it's local or federal election based ads to consumers. And you're right that there are certainly some publishers or content creators that do not want advertising related to politics. But often what we find is that it's much more nuanced. So they may not want a particular publisher or content creator. They may not want ads related to a specific issue that is divisive, abortion rights, gun rights, things like that. But they may be okay with, local tax measures. They may be okay with local elections, not with federal elections. So there's a lot of nuances that go into, what is a content creator comfortable with. And our job is to connect in the budgets that are coming, from the candidates, from the issues in the geographies that are important, and then connect that in to the publishers in a way that is a good match for their consumer base. And we expect to deliver several $1 million of political ad revenue in the third and fourth quarters of this year.
I'm about out of time, but if I can sneak in one more, we're covering the TikTok lawsuit now against the government. Talk to me about a potential TikTok ban and how such a ban, if it actually were to happen, could impact the digital advertising market that you specialize in.
Yeah, so TikTok obviously is a huge has a huge base of consumers and a huge amount of hours of media consumption, right? Content consumption, and of course, including ads. It's hard to say how the ban will play out. They just filed their lawsuit, I think, earlier this week. I think that process will take some time. But what I would expect to see is that advertisers aren't going to shrink their budgets because TikTok goes away, right? So if you're an advertiser at Procter and Gamble or Unilever, you've got to reach consumers with the message about your product. And so I think what we will see is that advertisers and ad agencies will start to shift money out of TikTok, even ahead of the ban or the court case moving forward, because nobody wants an unpredictable situation, right? So they're going to want the predictability to know that, hey, whatever the alternatives are, it could be streaming, it could be other social platforms like a Meta or a Snap, it could be open internet web publishers. They're going to start to move budgets, out of TikTok into that environment, into those other environments, in order to de-risk, what could be a sudden decision in, 9, 12, 18 months.
And if it's a Meta, if it's another digital platform, PubMatic, you feel is situated to handle any of those shifts in spending?
Absolutely. The reality is we're already working with many of those advertisers and agencies. They approach advertising with a portfolio approach, right? So they're advertising in multiple channels at the same time. And so we think it will be a great opportunity for us to grow revenue and grow budgets, although that is still a little bit of a ways out.
Rajeev Goel is the CEO of PubMatic. Thanks a lot for taking the time, for your perspective, and congrats on a good quarter. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, JD. Appreciate it.